Hey everybody, and welcome to this month's version of Kids Cooking. So today we are going to be making edible bark. Lots of people have made this recipe. There's lots of different variations of it. I tried to pick a recipe that used ingredients that most people will have at home, so it's a pretty base recipe, which is nice, and then it offers you the opportunity to adapt it as you like. So in true cooking show fashion, I have prepared everything ahead of time. I've got 1 cup of packed brown sugar and 1 cup. I substituted margarine for butter for the recipe, and it's fine. So I have that starting to melt here in my saucepan, and I used just like a lower saucepan so you guys could see what was happening as it was melting. Yeah, so while this is starting to cook, I'm going to go over a couple of other things. Before you start this part, you're going to want to prepare a tray. I don't want them to fall over. I used like saltine crackers that you would put in soup, and you just make a layer of them on top of non-stick tin foil. So that's going to be your bottom layer. And then additionally, you're going to want to start your oven and set it to 400 degrees Celsius. All right. So yeah, those are the two main things you want to get going before you start melting your butter and sugar together. Oh, butter and sugar. Yeah, butter and sugar, and then a little bit of salt. And then also I have pre-measured 2 cups of chocolate chips for the very top layer in a microwave safe bowl. You're going to want to melt that while this is in the oven on top of the crackers. So these crackers, you can use these ones. The recipe also said you could substitute for Ritz crackers to get like kind of that cheesy kind of taste in there. A patron was in and sharing their recipe. They say they make theirs with pretzels, which would be super yummy too. Yeah, there's all different kinds of things that you can substitute in this recipe to make it unique to you and your flavor profiles, what you like to eat. Making this in a lower, bigger saucepan too, it's gonna melt a lot faster. When I did it earlier, I did it in like a really small soup kind of not a pan. I was more of a pot, I guess. I did it in a pot, and it was it took a very long time. This is going really quickly, which is nice. You don't want to over stir it. You want it to have time to settle on the bottom and caramelize, because we're making a caramel, but it's not a true caramel. It takes a lot more precision than what we're going to be doing here today. Also, when I was picking this recipe, I wanted to choose a recipe that used easier techniques and was easy to master for all ages, which is nice. This is a fun family recipe that you can make all together. All right, while this continues to melt, I'll just go over some of the other things. So the base recipe is just like the caramel with the crackers and then the chocolate on top. But if you want, you can add all kinds of things on the top. I have some maple syrup that I might put in this part of it too, just to give it an extra little bit of sweetness. And then for the top, you can put stuff like sprinkles on there, because who doesn't love sprinkles? You can take a candy cane and use a hammer and crunch these up to sprinkle on the top. I'm going to try some peanut butter on top too, because I really like peanut butter. You can do nuts. You could do dried fruits. Anything really that you think is going to taste good on there, try it. You never know. All right. So I have this on medium heat. I'm really prone to burning things, so I tend to cook on a lower heat than lots of people. I might bump it up a little bit though. We want it to just start to bubble, and then when it starts to bubble, we're going to pour it evenly on top of our crackers that we have pre-laid out on top of that pan there. Ooh, it's getting close, you guys. You can see the butter and the sugar aren't quite mixing. I will provide a link to the recipe that I used in the video description. So it also says in the recipe that when you're doing this, it's going to start to brown. And once it gets a little bit darker brown, that's when you know it's ready to go on the crackers. I use dark brown sugar at home here. So mine's already pretty dark. You can see it here. It's got like a very dark brown color already. So if you're using like a golden brown sugar at home, it'll be a lot more obvious when it starts to change color for you. Perfect. And I'm impatient. I'm stirring it too much. So yeah, you want to let it caramelize on the bottom there. And then it says to cook it for 3 to 5 minutes. While this is still cooking, I do want to put some of my candy canes on top. So I have a cutting board on the side here. I hope you guys can see. And I'm going to just use a hammer and I'm going to break up this candy cane a little bit. So this is a fun part for the kids to do. And by doing it in a bag, it keeps the mess all contained. I learned that from some of my patrons when I was working at the Weyburn Library. One more. All right, so now you can see we have nice small pieces just to sprinkle on top. Add a fun little different kind of flavor. So I don't know if you guys can see on the video here, it has started to bubble a little bit. So we're just going to give it a couple more minutes. We want it to thicken up a little bit, but not too much. We don't want to burn it either. Okay. Move this back out of the way, and we can move the crackers back over so you can see. It's bubbling really well now. All right. And it smells so good. You're definitely going to want like a tall glass of milk to drink with this. It's very, very rich, you guys. It smells really good. All right, I think it's going to start burning here soon. So I'm going to turn off my element here. And then I think you guys can fully see that there. So I'm just going to take this and pour it evenly over Perfect. I'm just going to put this in my sink so it's not wrecking my counter. Good. All right, and then I'm going to take this. Ooh. Just let it spread out evenly across all the crackers here. When I did the practice, it was so much better. I got it really nice and even all over the crackers. Starting to dry already. That's okay. When it goes in the oven, it'll help too. Perfect. So yeah, just evening out, making sure your crackers are all nice and level across the bottom. Perfect. And then we're going to pop this straight into the oven. And again, the oven was preheated to 400. All right, so we only want that, it's like maybe 5 minutes that it's in the in the oven for. So then we're gonna take our chocolate here and we're gonna put it in the mic for 30-second intervals. And then in between each 30-second interval, you're gonna wanna stir it just to make sure that you're not getting any burnt spots or any uncooked spots. Yeah, and then once it is bubbling again in the oven, you bring out the crackers and then you pour all that melted chocolate on top to harden for the second layer. So this I think is close to 30 seconds. I think I did this 4 times, maybe 5 times this morning when I practiced. Perfect. All right, so you can see here the first time it's not really melted at all, but you can tell it's starting to get warm. Just moving that chocolate around. And then we pop it back in for another 30 seconds here. Oh, and I should have mentioned at the start of my video, the most important part of cooking is washing your hands, you guys. Make sure that you wash your hands before you start cooking. It's just really important, especially right now, you guys. Drop that little. Careful, my oven is hot. Perfect. So you can see here now it's starting to melt. So just stirring that chocolate a little bit more. And then another variation you guys can do too is, instead of, if you don't like the brown chocolate, you could do it with white chocolate, or you could do it, I think it'd be super rich, but you could do it with like the butterscotch chips, or you could use those as a drizzle. There's so many different options, you guys. We're gonna put this back in the microwave. Okay. I know you guys can't see me, but our pan is bubbling here, so I'll bring it out so you guys can see. Whoa. All right. This is still warm from when I was cooking on it, but I think you guys can see the bubbles happening there. I turned off my oven. This is where having extra hands can help, because one person can be leveling those out again, and then one person can be stirring this chocolate, and it's so close. I'm going to put it in one more time here, but it's really nice and melty now. Perfect. Put it in one more time. And then taking, you don't want to touch this with your fingers. It would burn them, but just making sure you still have that nice even layer of crackers on the bottom. I was moving a little fast and they kind of fell out of place here. Oh my goodness, it smells so good, you guys. I really hope you have fun making this at home. Oh, I got some dry crackers on the edges. That's okay. All right. So you don't want this to dry too much or cool too much before putting on the chocolate, but our chocolate's ready. All right, so you can see this is really nice, loose, melty. We're just gonna pour it all over these crackers. Get a nice level here. Oh, and I forgot to put in the syrup. Oh well, next time. It was just an extra anyways. Perfect. There we go. Something to touch the edges here. And then yeah, you're gonna want to spread it all the way out to the corners. Make a nice even layer. Perfect. I'm going to pretend that I did that completely. You guys all saw it, right? All right. And then I'm just going to scooch this to the side. You put it in the freezer and voila! You have this nice big sheet. I didn't do any extra toppings on this guy, but you've got this really nice big sheet of pre-frozen dessert, and you just take the back off. If there's any spots where the tin foil is sticking, just cut that piece out of your dessert because you want to make sure that nobody's eating tin foil. That would be very unfortunate for everybody involved. So you can see it's just peeling off of the back here. Perfect. Oh, this is very sticky. Okay, so it came off in one nice big sheet. All right, and I'll show you guys the back here. That's where all the caramel came off this morning. And yeah, you can use a knife, you can just break it and it just kind of snaps. And you can make it into whatever size of pieces that you want. Just like that. All right, thank you so much for tuning in today, you guys. If you do make this at home and you make it something completely wild and different and special and you want to share your recipe with us, drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. All right, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year.